So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Richard Byrne, and welcome to another edition of Practical EdTech Live, where I answer all of your EdTech questions that you've submitted to me over the last week, or in this case, the last 10 days, and any other questions that you have that pop up while you're watching the live broadcast. Feel free to put them in either on the YouTube stream or on the Facebook stream. I'm live in both places simultaneously, which is why you might see me go from screen to screen occasionally like this. All right, so let's start with some of the questions that were sent in advance. And as always, I'll answer any questions that you have as we go through the live session. So the first question that came up is the tech department at my school is looking for software to replace Snope. Below is a list of features that we need to have. We're hoping that you might be able to give us some suggestions. Features we need: import PDF, create a folder structure, folders within folders, use of an active stylus, and the option to insert images. All features they're looking for in a tool. And then the person went on to list some things some things they've already tried that they didn't like. They tried OneNote, they didn't like OneNote. Squid, didn't like Squid. Didn't like Samsung Notes, and didn't like Handwrite Pro. So that leaves me with a couple of suggestions. First of all, the first suggestion that came to mind is Kami, Kami, which you can find at kamihq.com. Kami is a free tool. I should say it's a freemium tool. There's a free plan you can use, and there's a paid upgrade plan. But at least with the free plan, you can still import PDFs from your Google Drive account. It will integrate with your Google Classroom if you're a Google Classroom user. Or you can import PDFs directly from your desktop or your mobile device. And you can go in and you can annotate those PDFs, and you can share that PDF with somebody else and let that person annotate it with you. And because you can import from your Google Drive, you can use the same folder structure that you are already using, so you don't have to create a new folder structure. So that's one option. Evernote also has an option for annotating PDFs. It is a premium feature, but that's an option as well. So those are the first two that came to mind for me. My first suggestion would be to try Kami, kamihq.com, is where you can find that. It's become a very popular tool according to their own marketing materials. They have more than 10,000 schools using it already. So that hopefully answers that question. Hey, Beth. Beth just joined on the Facebook side of things. Thanks for being here. All right. So question number 2. Bitly versus Google. This came from Glenn. Actually, the next two questions came from Glenn. So, hey, Glenn, thanks for being here. Bitly versus Google. Bit.ly versus goo.gl. I love Google and would love to get your opinion on the two. So, I use both. I've used both quite regularly for years now. There's one aspect of Bitly that I like better than Google's URL shortener. And that is that I can customize the end of the URL itself to make it something that a human can actually spell. So I can actually make it, bit.ly/practicaledtech or bit.ly/ft40 or something that is easy to copy down off a slide or copy down off a whiteboard, as opposed to Google's URL shortener, which is just a random string of shortened URLs. So that's why I tend to use Bitly more often than Google. Both will do the same thing. Both are nice. Goo.gl has a QR code option already installed in it. So if that's important to you, then Goo.gl might be a little bit better for you. Both let you track the number of times your links have been clicked and where that traffic is coming from. So you can't go wrong with either one. I just tend to use Bitly more often because I tend to be putting shortened URLs on slides a lot. So the next question also came from Glenn, and it was about Nimbus versus screencastify. Again, I love screencastify and have even had my students narrate their Google slide presentations using it. It's a good use for that, by the way. Does Nimbus offer anything more than this besides taking snapshots or screenshots? The other thing that Nimbus does is it has a little higher resolution. I've found that the quality of the recording has been a little bit better, and it doesn't have a watermark on it if you use the free plan. Otherwise, they're both good. Screencastify will share to Google Drive. Nimbus will also share to Google Drive. So they're pretty similar in that way. I tend to use Nimbus more often just because of the lack of a watermark that's on it. So if I'm going to record a screencast on my Chromebook, I tend to use Nimbus. By the way, if I'm recording screencasts on a Windows or a Mac computer, I always use Screencast-O-Matic because I think that's the best screencasting tool available for the price, which is free, or $15 if you want to get the pro version of it. All right. So the next question that came in, and again, feel free to put in your own questions if you would like to throw me a curveball or throw me something else that's not already scripted in here. Question number 4, I'm on the hunt for any tools that might take a PDF file and turn it into something that will flip like you see something like in Issue. For my particular case, I have a teacher who wants me to link a school literary magazine on our website. The group has used Issue to produce the file, but linking to the viewer seems a bit clunky to me. I like the flip function, but not the viewer. I wanted to find out if you had anything else. That came from John P. And my suggestion to John, and I wrote back to him, I think on Sunday night or Monday night, John, my suggestion was to use Youblisher, which is Youblisher. I'll put that in the Facebook group for anyone who wants to check that out. Put that in there right now. Youblisher.com. That will let you take your PDF, upload your PDF, and have it turned into a flipbook that you can then embed into your school website or your blog post. One caveat being that if you're trying to use Google Sites will not accept the embed code from Youblisher. By the way, Google Sites doesn't seem to accept embed codes from pretty much anyone other than Google products these days. So that's my suggestion if you want to make your PDF into a little flipbook. And I think that's a great idea, especially at this time of year. It's the end of the school year for many of us. Some of you are already out of school. If you're trying to get kids to make a little PDF of the highlights of the school year, your own classroom yearbook, if you will, maybe put it in a PDF format and put it on Youblisher.com, and you can embed that into your blog or your website. All right. And so that link, by the way, and I'll put the link in the Facebook group as well. If you're in the Facebook page, I'm going to put in the link for the Cami HQ that I mentioned earlier. All right. So question 5 that came in. Hey, Richard. Question for you about QR codes. I'm trying to use QR codes in my classroom next year. I would love to have a QR code assigned for each student and tie it to my own classroom management system. Whenever I take points off or add points to a student, I'd like to be able to scan their QR code that I would have on their desk and just add or dock points. I would also like to tie it in so that I can basically have student work files in their own section assigned to their QR code. Is this something that's possible at all? Thanks, Dave. Yeah, and actually Dave and I had a nice little chat about this Wednesday morning. I can't remember exactly when Dave and I emailed back and forth about this. But Dave has pretty much come up with his own little learning management system, and he's trying to tie something else into it. My suggestion was to use Plickers, or the same concept as Plickers. So for those who aren't familiar with Plickers, and I think I have a card here somewhere. Hold on. I should have planned this part better. Do I have a Plickers card? I don't have a Plickers card handy. No, I don't. Sorry. So Plickers anyway are just big QR codes, and they have 4 distinct sides, and when you turn it one way or the other, it gives a different response. So my suggestion to Dave was to just take the Plickers cards and use Plickers.com to keep track of points. So if he wanted to add a point, scan it with the A side up or the one side up, and if you wanted to deduct a point, scan it the other way. And then at the end of the week or the end of the month, he can go in and download a spreadsheet from Plickers of all the points, and he could import that spreadsheet or CSV file into his own student management system or classroom management system, if you will. So Plickers is really useful in that way. Again, I'll put that in the chat for anyone who's following along on. Hey, and Chris is here. Chris and Beth are both watching me. Wow, cool. Hey, Chris and Beth. Chris and Beth are friends of mine, and they're supporting me. So thanks, guys. So plickers.com. Again, just take that QR code and modify it. And that gets me to a bigger point that a lot of these tools, while they're designed for one specific purpose, there's no reason why we can't modify them to fit in our own world. I mean, I have a friend who used Plickers cards just as his attendance system. Students had to scan their Plickers cards when they came in the room, and that way he was able to take attendance. If they didn't scan their card correctly, they didn't get counted for attendance that day. Kind of a neat little modification of using the Plickers. All right. And question 6, the last question that I have submitted in advance is a question I don't actually have the answer to. So I'm hoping that some of you might weigh in and make some suggestions either on the YouTube stream or here on the Facebook stream. And that is, here's the last question, and I'm looking for some suggestions from all of you. I am the computer lab teacher at my school for 3-year-olds through 4th grade. I have 20 desktop HP computers, but no cameras. I was wondering if you can recommend an external webcam that would work for my environment. I searched on Amazon for some options, but I'm honestly not that familiar with webcams. I never used one back in the day, and now I'm just comfortable with internal webcams on various laptops I've had over the years. Here are some considerations. They need to be durable enough for 3rd and 4th graders to handle independently. I don't want them hooked up to the computers permanently, only when needed. I'd like them to somehow attach to the top of the monitor so I don't have to worry about elevating or propping them up. And I also want them to be available for teachers to check out if they would like to be able to use them in their classrooms. Right. So I wrote back to this person and said, honestly, I haven't used an external webcam in a long time either. I've either used my phone, like I'm doing right now on the YouTube stream, my webcam in the laptop, like I'm doing right now on the Facebook stream, or I've used my digital camera, my DSLR camera, with a mini HDMI to HDMI cable to live stream. So those are the tools that I've used for webcams in the last couple of years. Prior to that, I didn't. I've had just clunky old HP webcams that you bought for $30 at Walmart. So, my suggestion here is that this may be one of those times where you actually want to go to like Best Buy or Walmart and physically touch these things before you play with them. Ask around if there's another elementary school in your area where they have webcams. Ask what they're using or what they like, what they've done. I would say that depending on your budget, you might even be able to get some cheap digital cameras instead of going with the webcam. Get some cheap digital cameras that you can connect with a mini HDMI to HDMI cable, and that way you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can use them to stream as a webcam when necessary, but you can also use it as just a camera to use independently, particularly since it seems like you want to be able to lend them out to other teachers around the school from time to time. So that's my suggestion. But again, if anyone watching has a suggestion for a great webcam for early elementary school grades, I'd love to have those as well. So, and if you want to send in your suggestions, you can do that on Facebook at facebook.com/practicaledtech, or you can do it in an email to me as well. And so, thanks everyone for joining me. That's the end of the questions that were submitted to me. If you have more, I'm happy to hang out right now. I'll answer any question you want, really. Tell you about the weather. It's finally sunny in Maine for a minute here. Otherwise, I'll leave you with that. Thanks for joining me. You can always send me an email, richardbyrne@freetech4teachers.com, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions there. Find me on Twitter, twitter.com/RMByrne, or just Google me. I usually pop up at the top of the search result if you Google my name. And you can find my phone number even. So, thanks everyone. Have a great afternoon.